Hey nerds, Bevan here, welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about superheroes. Surprise, surprise. Last week I discussed, a couple weeks ago, I discussed the characters I want to get into reading. So today I thought I would discuss the characters that I love reading right now. If you did watch last week's video though, you saw my whole bookshelf of trade paperbacks. That shelf is basically full of all the characters that I love. So I thought I'd break down like my top 5 that I'm really enjoying right now. Number 1 is Batman. Batman is probably my favorite superhero comic book character, depending on when you ask me. He has the biggest section of a shelf all to himself. He takes up basically half the DC shelf all on his own, and that doesn't even include Batman family figures, like I have Nightwing and Batgirl and Harley Quinn and all those guys too. I am behind. I've gotten up to, I think it's volume 7 out of 10 for the New 52, and I also have read volume 1 of Rebirth. I'm behind on Batman. I'm behind on all my characters, let's be real here. But Batman is probably my number 1 read in terms of just iconic storylines and weekly stories and all just the surrounding characters that are within his story. He has a huge group of fellow superheroes that do team-ups all the time. Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl, named all these guys already. But also his rogues gallery is just ridiculous. The only one who even rivals him is Spider-Man. So Batman, number 1. One of my favorite new superheroes of the last few years, because Marvel has been doing a lot of legacy stuff. But my favorite one out of all of them is Spider-Gwen. I love that she's not really a legacy character, she's just like an alternate universe version of Spider-Man. But I love the art in it. I can't think of who the artist is, but I do love the art style in it. It's very modern, it's very different, has lots of pizzazz to it. I'm not describing it very well, but if you are familiar with Spider-Gwen comic books, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I also love that music is such a big thing for this character. I personally don't have a huge attachment to music, but I definitely understand the appeal of it to other people. And Spider-Gwen specifically, she's in a band within the book, and it motivates her so much, and she uses the music within the action sequences as well, so it's just a really, really solid read. I mentioned legacy characters, and I'm going to talk about one right now, and that is Laura Kinney, aka X-23, aka All New Wolverine. Now, with Logan coming back to Marvel comic books after being dead for, I think it's 4 years, the All New Wolverine is reverting back to X-23, which I don't really know how I feel about that. I think she's had a great run in the white and yellow, in the yellow and blue. But going back to X-23 just feels like a step back. It feels like she's evolved past that role, past that code name. I think it almost would have been better if you weren't going to keep her as Wolverine and then have Logan kind of being like a coaching father figure for her, than to just have her branch out as like something completely different. It'd be like when Dick Grayson took over the cape and cowl for Batman, if he would have reverted back to Robin after that. I mean, obviously it's a little bit different because he was already Nightwing, but you kind of get what I'm getting for it, right? Number 4 on my list is going to be The Flash. As I said, I'm behind on all my comic books. I haven't even touched Rebirth yet, and I have gotten through about volume 5 out of 9 in terms of the New 52, but I love this book so much. I never really dabbled in DC before New 52, so I really only know these stories. At a local convention here a few years ago, they had Marcus Toe there as a comic book artist, and he did a couple of books for The Flash in New 52. We got the annual and number 15. So I had him sign these for me here at that convention because I love this book and I love the art style in it. I know it's a different artist throughout. I don't think they use the same artist for every issue in it, but the way, just his superpower and that super speed and having the dynamic imaging of it in a comic book panel, and just having that color spread throughout and trying to follow his action as he like all over the page is crazy to me. The stories are good. I don't really know the history of Flash that well, so it was a good starting point for me, but I really enjoy the art specifically in the Flash comic books. And the last one I'm going to throw out here is Thor. I jumped into Thor comic books with Jason Aaron's run on Thor: God of Thunder, and I love that series. I love the way he broke it down into like 3 different eras of Thor, all telling the same story, with the God Butcher villain coming after Thor in the year 1000 AD, and then present times, and I think it was 2,000 years into the future. It was just a really cool concept. And then that book transitioned into The Mighty Thor, which was Jane Foster as Thor, and I love the way she took that role and made it more pure, because Odinson, as we've seen in the movies and in books, he can be kind of an arrogant character just based on his upbringing and his role within Asgard and all that. But Jane Foster is like the ultimate sacrificial character in this role. Every time she uses the hammer, the cancer eats away at her, and recently she did pass away in the comic books because of that, and she did sacrifice herself. By Jason Aaron's run on from God of Thunder all the way up until The Mighty Thor 706, I think is when his last book was. That run was ridiculous. And I find it interesting that when I look at Marvel and DC, when I'm reading DC books, I am all about the core characters. Batman and Flash were the 2 that I mentioned in this video. But with Marvel, it's more of like the legacy characters, the new female characters. I mentioned Spider-Gwen, Laura Kinney as the all-new Wolverine, and Jane Foster as the Mighty Thor. Again, I don't dabble too much out of my wheel box, and not that I am saying that I don't like the classic Marvel characters or I don't like new DC characters. To be honest, I don't really know a lot of the new DC characters, even if there are any. I know with Rebirth they wanted to really get back to their core, to the Justice League and the people surrounding the Justice League. So I'm not 100% sure if Rebirth has introduced a lot of new characters, but I think because of where I am within my comic books, I think I am going to just kind of jump to right now. I picked up X-Men Gold Volume 1, so I'm just going to go with those guys. Batman Rebirth #1. So I've kind of just jumped ahead a few years to get #1s and work my way up to what we're at right now, instead of finishing all the other runs I was already reading. I feel like I've hit the point in this video where I'm starting to just ramble about comic books in general, so I'm going to cut it off here right now. But if you like this video, hit the like button, comment below what characters you enjoy reading the most. I'm always open for suggestions of books I should be picking up if I'm not already reading them, and this kind of gives you an idea of what I'm already into. If you want to hear more comic book talk from me, hit the subscribe button. It's going to be in one of these 4 corners here on the screen, so just hit that box, subscribe to my channel. New videos are coming every Monday morning, Monday afternoon, depending on when I can get to a decent computer here. But that's it for today. Tune in next Monday, same bat time. Ugh. Sun, natural light, gross. Tune in next Monday, same bat time, same bat channel.